panahon na to, sinisingil ho itong si Senator Risa Hontivirus ng ating mga kababayan. Maging tayo dito sa PH Update kasi yung ating benefit of the doubt, hindi ho mauubos yan. Ang sabi ko kasi nitong si Senator Risa Hontivirus, napakarami niyang ebidensya, di ba? Nung hindi pa siya nagpa-presko, nung hindi pa siya nagpunta dyan sa NBI, ang dami niyang sinasabi. Kesyo ang dami niyang ebidensya, talagang mapapasinungalingan niya lahat ng sinasabi nitong si alias Rene, nagkalitaw-litaw ho, puro mga screenshot ang ilinatag sa atin ni Risa Hontivirus. Meron pa siyang nalalaman na pa-araw-araw. Akala mo naman anong pakialam namin sa araw? Anong pakialam namin sa thumbs up sign na yan? Ipa-authenticate nyo ho yung mga dokumento na yan. Ibigay nyo ho sa mga digital forensic, sa mga investigador, sa mga kung sino man pwedeng mapagbigyan yan. Ibigay nyo sa sa kampo ng mga pinagbibintangan nyo na dumukot kay alias Rene. Yung kopya, yung device kung saan nyo natanggap yung mga mensahe na yan. Hindi yung puro na lamang screenshot ang ilalatag nyo sa sambayanan. Dito ho tayo ngayon mga kababayan. Comment react ho kayo dyan kung saan ayon kayo na dapat kung talagang wala ng ebidensya itong si Risa, wala ng CCTV footage, wala ng wala ng usapan nila nitong si alias Rene o ng kanyang staff. Yang hong mga dokumentong ilinatag nyo, ipa-authenticate nyo ho. Hindi ho yung pagka hinarap nyo ganyan sa social media, kagyat kailangan na namin paniwalaan yan. Hindi ho ganun gumagana yan, Senator Risa Hontivirus. Ayun lang naman para pagka kasi na-authenticate yan, napatunayan na talagang yung mga dokumento na yan, natanggap doon sa date na yon at ang nag-send mismong si alias Rene, totoo sinasabi ni Senator Risa. Totoo sinasabi niya. Ngayon, kung wala tayong makikitang ganun, mayari hindi daw tayo basta-basta maniniwala sa mga ganyan. Pangatlo mo na yan, Sen Risa. Pangatlong beses nyo na napagbintangan na di umano, nag-ayos kayo ng witness. Di ba? Dito mga kababayan, maraming nagre-request sa atin. Gawa naman daw ho natin ng reaction video. Itong si Auntie Claire. Kasi kanina dyan sa Malacanang press cartel, bumanat na naman ho itong si yung crush natin, si Ma'am Eden Santos. Bumanat na naman ho itong si Ma'am Eden Santos na uppercut itong administrasyon ni Marcos Jr. Ibinibida ho kasi nitong si Auntie Claire na kesyo napakaganda ng mga programa ng administrasyon, kaugnay dyan sa ipinagbabawal na droga, napakadami na nilang napatay yung mga pasilidad para mapigilan, para matulungan yung mga biktima, di ba? Dito ho, pakinggan nyo ho ang palitan nilang dalawa nitong ang pangalan itong si Ma'am Eden Santos. Ito, bibida ho dito si Auntie Claire. Auntie Claire, banat ka na.
Saan?
Teka, hindi muna dyan. Doon muna tayo sa pagbibida nitong si Auntie Claire. Magtatanong na dito itong si itong si Ma'am Eden. Ito. Game.
47,438 ang nahatulan.
Wow.
Alinsunod na rin sa direktiba ng Pangulo na palakasin ang drug demand reduction activities upang malayo ang taumbayan sa illegal na droga. Umabot na...
Hindi ho namin nakikita yon, Ante. Madami pa rin pakalat-kalat sila sa kalsada. Yung iba natin mga kababayan, nawawalan na ng pag-asa. Daming drugs ho ngayon, sa totoo lang.
Rin sa 9,713 drug offenders ang nakakompleto ng reformation process habang 2,761 naman ang nabigyan ng hanapbuhay. Umabot na rin sa 607 balay silangan reformation centers ang naipatayo
Balay silangan napakarami. 147.
Sa ilalim ng Marcos administration.
Eto ho ayan. Binida na niya yung mga balay silangan. Punta na ho tayo nito kay ang pangalan nito, Ma'am Eden Santos. Ulitin muna natin, ilan yung napatayo nila? Okay.
Habang 2,761 naman ang nabigyan ng hanapbuhay.
Yan na.
Umabot na rin sa 607 balay silangan.
607 balay silangan. Dito sa lugar namin, wala bang ganyan? Kasi sa 607 na yan, kung concentrated yan sa NCR o dito sa parte ng Luzon, siguro meron na tayo nabalitaan diyan, 600 yung balay silangan na yan Oh.
Reformation centers ang naipatayo sa ilalim ng Marcos administration.
Yan. Ito na ho ang tanong ngayon nitong si Ma'am Eden Santos. Yan, gang.
At maaari na po tayong tumanggap na inyong mga katanungan.
Pakinggan nyo.
Just reminding everyone of the one question, one follow-up guideline. Eden Santos, net 25.
Kagad, meron kagad isang question, isang follow-up lang ha. Lalo na ikaw. Net 25 ha, ikaw madalahira ka
Hello. Good morning po, Yusek. Kaugnay po nung binanggit ninyo about illegal drugs, may we know po kung anong mga barangay, kahit ilan lang po, yung 427,000 na binabanggit ninyo na na-cleared na sa illegal drugs?
Okay.
427. Cleared sa illegal drugs. Ito ang sasagot ng auntie nyo.
Okay, sa ngayon, yan pa lang po ang ating natanggap at wala po tayong detalye patungkol sa barangay. Hingin po natin mula sa PIDEA at ibang law enforcement agencies yung sinasabi po natin barangay.
Yun ang problema. Yun ang problema. Natawa ka din, natanga ka, Yan ang problema. Inunan nyo yabang Anak ng tokwa. Nanghihingi lang ng ilang mga numero kung saan itong mga itong barangay cleared na yan sa illegal drugs. Wala ka na isagot. Kasi wala naman. Mga laway at numero lang yan. Pati siya natawa siya doon sa tanong ni Eden Santos. Naku, na-corner na naman kami ng net 25 dito Teka, asan na yung mga listahan? 600 lang yan, ang konti lang yan Kasya naman sa isang kopong ban yan kaso hindi sila pwedeng magbanggit. Halimbawa, itong barangay Batong Bakal, barangay San Andres Bukid, hindi nila pwedeng banggitin yan. Magko-comment yung mga kababayan natin na nandun sa lugar na yon at sasabihin nila, sinungaling ka, anti-clear. Tama, mali? Ito pa, follow up.
Okay. Follow up lang po.
Follow up.
Saan pong area itong Balay Silangan Drug Centers? Para yung address po.
Sige po, mamaya po ibibigay ko po sa inyo yung exact address.
Wala ka din. Baka wala ring Balay Silangan. Anak ng tokwa. Baka wala ring Balay Silangan, di ba? Yan ang problema natin. Inuuna yabang. Inuuna laway. Wala naman palang ibubuga. Puro kayabangan lang. Anak ng tokwa, kung wala, huwag kayong Sinasabi ko sa inyo Di ba? Sinasabi mo 664, Balay Silangan. Tinanong kayo, saan yung lokasyon nang magbigay kayo ng ilang mga lokasyon ng Balay Silangan? Wala kang maisagot. Sa 664 na location, wala kang maisagot. Anak ng Petrang Garapata, linuloko mo na kami niyan, madam. Huwag kong ganon. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Kasi pagka ganyan tayo ng ganyan, yung tipong puro laway na lang hinahain natin sa mga kababayan natin, baka sa susunod, baka pagbabatuin kayo ng kamatis niyan. Di ba? Nakakaloko ho ibibida nyo yung statistic na yung mga barangay cleared sa illegal drugs, merong Balay Silangan, nakagraduate ng ganito. Saan ho yung Balay Silangan? Teka lang wala akong listahan. Saan ho yung mga barangay cleared ng illegal drugs? Teka lang Wala akong listahan. Basta ako, laway lang ako. Yan ang problema sa inyo sa Malacanang. Ngayon, sabihin yung nang tutrol lang tayo dito. Hindi ho tayo nang tutrol. Kasi kung magpe-press con ka, kung hindi mo kaya, tawagin mo ang ahensyang in charge dyan sa paksa na yan at silang magbigay ng detalye. Ang problema, bida-bida lang yan. Ang problema, baka wala naman talaga. Halimbawa, sinabi nyo, Barangay San Andres Bukid, clear na yan sa illegal drugs. Nagsalita yung mga taga-tao, yung mga doon, pinagpipicturean nila, ang daming bangag sa amin, paano naging clear yan? Yun ang kinatatakutan nila. Ayun na nga, napasaya na naman ho tayo ng clown dyan sa Malacanang na si Auntie Claire. Kaya nga pinalabas ko yan para kahit paano medyo malighten ang ating mood dahil ang ating susunod na paksa dito sa video na to. Panigurado. Panigurado meron na naman hong hindi makakatulog mamayang gabi. Eto na ho. Eto na. Eto na itong si Atty Ferdy Topacio, pang DE ng interview na naman ho ito. Game!
Loy, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio. Attorney
Nako.
Topacio,
Tikas,
thank
ah.
you so much for your time. Good to see you. Welcome
Yes,
to the program.
always good to see the most beautiful woman on air.
Thank you, sir. All right, umpisahan na po natin dito.
Ako, nag-agree ako doon. Kaming dalawa kasi ni Atty Ferdy Topacio, lover boy kami. Siya ho talaga ang pinakamagandang reporter sa balat ng mga stasyon sa Pilipinas. Maganda ho yan si Ma'am Pinky Webb. Yung mga matatangkad na ganyan, dyan tayo tipong sobrang gandang-ganda tayo sa mga ganyan Diba? Ang ganda ho kaya niya yung mga maliliit, mga punggok-punggok. Hindi gaano, pero pagka yan matangkad, medyo pareho kami nitong si Atty Ferdy. Na-attract kami dyan sa mga wow. Maganda talaga yan. Matagal ko na sinusundan yan. Noon pa sa CNN Philippines, sinusundan ko na yan si Ma'am Pinky Webb.
Ito kay Michael Maurilio. I know you know the story. So,
Yes.
he claims now that the Senator Risa Hontivirus, paid him $1 million basically to speak ill of the KOJC leader. What are your thoughts on this?
I do not know Mr. Murillo. I think he's the one who goes by the moniker alias Rene, if I'm not mistaken. But if he is saying that, it would not be the first time that there would be an accusation of witness tampering and subornation of perjury against Senator Risa Hontivirus. Because
Yari.
I personally
Yari.
know of 2 incidents wherein the same manner of accusation was made against Senator Hontivirus.
Tell us more about that.
I think Jing Paras, who was a guest in one of your shows here, gave a gist of what happened. This was during the time of the controversy surrounding Kian de los Santos, who was killed by the police in a supposed rob-out. And while I believe that the policemen involved there were rightfully punished for their crime, it does not detract from the fact that with respect to certain witnesses who were of minor age at the time, Senator Hontivirus intervened by getting them from the custody of their lawful parents and bringing them somewhere else. As a result of which, the father of one of those children approached us in the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption under then Dante Jimenez. And Dante Jimenez assigned me as the chief legal counsel at the time of the VACC, and former Congressman Jing Paras, who is one of our volunteer lawyers, to take care of the problem, and we brought the matter to the attention of the CIDG. And the CIDG, after investigating it, sent operatives to the Senate to talk to Senator Risa Hontivirus. At the time, her staff said that she was not in, although Senate security confided to us that she was in her office. And the second would be with respect to the Farmally case, where a certain Mark Clarence said on video, on record, that he was bribed by Senator Hontivirus with electric bikes and certain amounts of money to testify
Nako.
falsely against executives of Farmally. And we still have the sworn statement of that person. We still have his video. And as a result of these 2 incidents, a case for kidnapping and an ombudsman case was filed against Senator Risa Hontivirus. So probably...
And what is the status of that?
We have not been informed of the status, but if Senator Hontivirus has filed the case, maybe it was because of her experience with these 2 cases that she decided to preempt the filing of cases against her by filing her own case.
So, does that
Galing.
mean...
Ngayon alam ko na kung bakit kinukuhang abogado itong si Atty Ferdy Topacio. Mahusay ho pala talaga to. Pagka nagsalita itong si Atty Ferdy Topacio, talagang maniniwala ka. No? Magaling naniniwala na nga ako Kumbisido na nga ako Doon sa mga sinabi niya, hindi doon sa sinabi nitong si alias Rene. Kayo naman. Baka magalit niya si Senator Risa. Baka pagka nagalit siya sa akin, tatanggalin ko yung benefit of the doubt ko sa kanya.
To say that you believe this Michael Maurilio?
I reserve my judgment. However, there are 2 points that I wish to raise. Number 1, these allegations are serious and deserve the investigation not only of the police authorities, the NBI, but the Senate itself. by its ethics committee because, as I've said, this is not the first time that Senator Risa Hontivirus was accused of these things. Number two, Risa Hontivirus, being a public official, should not be, well, to use the shop-worn phrase, she should not be onion-skinned because a public official, by entering public service, holds herself out to a higher standard of conduct and should expect the public to scrutinize her behavior. That's why, with respect to libel and cyber libel, the usual presumption of malice does not apply when you're a public official. Instead, it is the public official who must prove malice on the part of the person alleged to have libeled her in order to secure a conviction.
Does it mean, attorney, that what the senator did the other day, going to the NBI, and basically, to be very clear about it, is to initiate the investigation and the prosecution of the persons responsible for the creation and management of this Pagtanggol Valiente as well as Michael Marillo and others? Do you think that was being onion-skinned of her? Because I do recall when she was being interviewed by the media, she says that, this is part of her job, mangyayari siguro yung mga ganitong klase. Pero yung pwede, you can call her out on certain things, basically rewording it. But when you lie or when you tamper with the witnesses, that's a different story and that's something na hindi niya palalampasin.
That's what I said during my TikTok interview earlier. She is well within her rights.
Okay.
However, she must expect that because I do not believe that one person, as I've said, I'm reserving my judgment on this alias Rene. But I do not believe such a person or the other persons who previously made allegations against her would have the courage to make baseless allegations considering how powerful and influential Ms. Hontivirus is. So I think instead of investigating whether there was lying here or whatever, the investigation should cover everything. The NBI should investigate not only whether or not this witness was lying, but whether or not there is truth to his allegations in order to make it
Both
fair.
sides.
Yes, both sides.
All right.
Both sides,
Do you
both sides.
think you were saying a while
Both side ho yun, both side. Hindi pwedeng one-sided lang yun. Iimbestigahan lang itong si alias Maurilio, yung tipong mag-a-assume kagad yung NBI na ano yan, ano yan, kumbaga, yung mga sinasabi niyan libelous. Diba? Mga libelous. Di pwede yan. Kung merong ilinabas tong si Michael Maurilio, kung sakali man, dapat sana, yung mga ilinabas niya, imbestigahan din ng NBI. Tignan din kung meron bang basihan, yung mga sinasabi niya na binigyan ako yung 1 milyon. Bribery ho yan, ha? Binigyan ako yung 1 milyon. Para ganito, para ganyan. Di ba? Merong mga ganon. Dapat imbestigahan din ng NBI yung kung gaano katotoo yung mga sinasabi niya. Diba? Baka merong, kumbaga, napapalampas natin yung mga kabalbalan nitong mga politiko na to, diba? Mahirap na, uulit-ulitin ho nila yan sa mga susunod na panahon, kung sakaling totoo, diba? Kung makalusot sila, mga walang yaho yung mga yan Kaya mas maigi nang dito pa lang tapusin na natin to. Diba? Yung pag nag-imbestiga ang NBI, pati yung mga sinasabi ni alias Maurilio, pasadahan din natin. Ganon dapat yun.
ago that this is a serious matter. Before we go to what you were saying that there should be an ethics complaint filed against her regarding this. It's serious because meron pong witness na nagsabing may problema ang KOJC, na kinawawa siya, naabuso siya, etc. And then, bumaliktad at sinabi na pinilit lang siya ng supposed to be ni Senator Risa na sabihin ito. But with regards to Senator Risa Hontivirus' defense when she was talking to media, kasi nakita yung parang pagkadismaya at galit niya. Meron ho kasi siya, attorney, ng mga resibo. In fact, her office had shown that this individual, supposedly emailed them back in 2023. He left KOJC around 2021, the year 2021. They did not respond immediately, to which Michael Maurilio had reached out to them 2 more times. And then he even asked at some point for a laptop dahil para daw magkaroon siya ng trabaho to which the senator's office said they don't really give out such monetary or even laptops for that matter kasi ayaw niyang magkaroon ng misconception doon sa kung magbigay man ng laptop or kahit na anong tulong dito sa witness. Let's just stop there first because there are more. Yun pa lang, what do you think about that? Because from a laptop na ayaw ibigay ng office ni Senator Risa to him being paid 1 million pesos, supposedly.
As I said, judgment has to be reserved on that. But that is why I'm calling on the NBI to investigate not only from the point of view of Senator Hontivirus that this person is lying, but from the point of view of the person as to whether or not there was pecuniary exchanges made in exchange for his testimony. Because that is also allegations, there were also allegations made against Senator Hontivirus in law that proves a pattern. So that is part of a pattern of events that strengthens the possibility that a present action was done on the basis of previous actions. And that is admissible in court actually.
Okay, Attorney.
Ang problema kasi dito, kung, okay, may resibo tong si Risa Hontivirus, meron siya mga screenshot. Ipapaniwalaan natin yun. No, yung tipong, meron ganito si Senator Risa. Paano naman yung sinabi ng mama na di umano binayaran siya ng 500,000? Umiiyak ako doon sa pagkakataon na yon dahil yung mga binabasa ko, alam ko kasinungalingan. Wala ho bang bigat yon? Wala ho bang bigat yung mga sinabi nitong si alias Maurilio, ay alias Rene? Yun lang mga screenshot lang nitong si Senator Risa Hontivirus na hindi pa natin nga nabe-verify kung talagang na-authenticate, kung talagang totoo yung mga yan o ano. Matatabunan na yung testimonya niya na kung saan talagang kitang-kita ng ating mga kababayan. Hindi siya nagbabasa ng script, hindi siya nanginginig sa takot, hindi yung tipong merong nakatutok sa tagiliran niya, di ba? Napaka-free niya eh. Na yung wala kayong makikitang stress doon sa dito kay alias Rene. Pero nung nag-testify siya dyan sa Senado, merong problema. Paiyak-iyak siya. At doon sa pinakauna niyang video, pinaliwanag niya kung bakit siya umiiyak doon sa particular na hearing na yon, di ba? Umiiyak daw siya dahil alam niya kasinungalingan yung binabasa niya.
Anyway, when you look at the series of events that supposed to be happened, there was also in February 2024, this individual said he was being convinced, allegedly, by some acquaintances in the KOJC to recant his previous testimony. And then in June 2022 and 2025, he messaged supposedly that he was abducted. Kinidnap ako at tinatakot ako. Dito ako kinulong sa Glory Mountain. Help me please. To which the office of the senator forwarded this to PNP Davao. And then the video. I know that, I guess what I'm trying to understand here or try to get from you is, while you're saying there could be a pattern because there were previous supposed to be incidents, when you hear something like this na merong resibo at may maipapakita po, does that show that the witness is not believable or not credible?
These are matters that are addressed to the investigator. We have to take the overall context of these things because, remember, witnesses recant all the time. In the case of Senator De Lima, the witnesses recanted. There were documents that point to the fact before that the first testimonies pointing to Senator De Lima as the person behind the so-called believed drug trade, these testimonies seem to have been given voluntarily. But later on, they recanted, and the court believed the recantation. So, I'm not saying the recantation of alias Rene is believable or not. All I'm saying is that based on previous pattern and based on the surrounding circumstances, there may be more to this that meets the eye. All I'm saying is that I am interested in the truth of this. And now, with respect to the ethics complaint, there is something wrong, not only because there is this recantation, but because money may have changed hands with respect to testimony. That is why, if I recall correctly, Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre also filed an ethics complaint against Senator Hontivirus for violating the Anti-Wiretapping Act. And this case, this violation of the Anti-Wiretapping Act is still pending, if I'm not mistaken, before the Pasay City RTC. So there is this pattern that, as I was saying, deserves more serious consideration and a much closer look.
So, with regards to this ethics complaint, who do you think should file it?
Any senator may file, actually any private citizen may file, or any person affected by the testimony. Remember that I filed an ethics complaint against then Congressman Dan Fernandez for violating the rights of my client and for trying to embarrass me in front of media and that August chamber. So any person affected may file before the committee.
But because you're one of the lawyers of Apollo Quiboloy, Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, do you think that your group, your team, or somebody from your team should file an ethics complaint?
I have suggested as much to the team, but of course, our team leader is Attorney Torion, and I will leave it up to him. I leave it to his sound discretion.
How important is it for your group or your team to reach out, or has anyone reached out to this Michael Maurilio?
Not, as far as I know, none of us. It appears to have been spontaneous, but of course, if someone who recants, let us be candid here. If there is a witness who is doing an act that is favorable to your client, it is natural to extend help and assistance to that particular witness.
Of course. Hence the question, has anyone reached out?
Well, from my point of view, from where I'm sitting, I have no knowledge, but I would not be surprised, of course. It would be the natural thing to do for a lawyer.
All right. And you are also the lawyer of former Congressman Arnulfo Teves, and recently you were given this new job. You are the spokesperson for the PDP Laban with regards to the impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. That's right.
Yes, that's right. They could not find any other person who was willing to work long hours without pay.
We're going to talk about that after the break. We'll be right back. Impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. So you're the spokesperson for the PDP with regard to the impeachment on the Vice President. Well, is there anything that the PDP is doing with regards to the impeachment complaint?
With respect to the impeachment complaint, the PDP, as an old party and one of the major parties in the opposition, thought it would be proper for it to be heard on a matter of national interest that may have serious legal and political repercussions in the national life. So that's why they appointed a spokesman. We have a general spokesman in the person of Attorney Raul Ambino, of course, who has been doing a fantastic job. But they saw the need for someone who would be laser focused on this single issue alone.
And what exactly are you doing now as the spokesperson for the impeachment complaint for PDP? Because right now, from my understanding, the Senate impeachment court is still waiting for the second certification from the House prosecution panel with regards to, well, number one, they already did the certification on the one-year bar, that they did not violate that. And the second is supposed to be that the 20th Congress is willing to pursue what the 19th Congress did. Yun po yung hinihintay supposed to be ng impeachment court now. Okay.
So, well, they want the PDP to articulate its sentiments on the ongoing trial proceedings before the Senate. Our stand on the matter is quite simple. Number one, that there was a violation of the one-year ban. I believe this issue had already been raised last February 18 before the Supreme Court, but there is no action yet. And number two, that under the terms of the fundamental charter or the Constitution, such an impeachment complaint should not survive the transition from the 19th to the 20th Congress. And we are issuing statements in support of that because historical experience shows us that in the last two impeachment complaints, they radically changed the course of our nation's history. In the case of Erap Estrada, it triggered another people power revolution, so to speak. In the case of CJ Corona, the country was not only divided, it was not only later demonstrated to be a case of persecution because he was practically exonerated when he was restored to his full privileges post-mortem or posthumously by the Supreme Court. But it also triggered a domino effect with respect to the removal of C.J. Sereno. So we believe that by contributing to the national debate, we exhibit fealty to what the late Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes of the U.S. Supreme Court said, that the ultimate good desired is better reached in the free trade of ideas.
Are you saying, in a way, because of the past experiences that you had mentioned historically in the Philippines of impeachment cases, that there's nothing good about impeachment cases and trying them?
No, I would not say that. In fact, the
Parang naninibago ko kay Atty. Ferdy dito. But parang malambing siya. Pagka magandang babae kaharap nitong si Atty. Ferdy, medyo nagiging
process of impeachment or the mechanism of impeachment is an integral part of the transparency and accountability provisions of the Constitution. But then, impeachment is a two-edged sword. It can cut for good or for evil. If used to enforce transparency, if used to curb corruption, if used to address abuses in official functions, then it is very useful. But when it is used as a blunt instrument for political persecution or political assassination, then that is when the trouble begins.
And then you have the two sides actually saying that. You have the Vice President basically saying this is being used for political persecution because I'm a front runner for the 2028 elections. And then you have the House Prosecution Panel who's talking about accountability, taking officials to hold to public account, right? Because of supposedly what they had discovered on confidential funds, etc. So it's a two-edged sword, and you don't know actually which one, anong mananaig dun sa dalawa.
Well, para sa akin, if you're going to talk of transparency and accountability, you cannot be hypocritical. What is sauce for the goose should be sauce for the gander. If you're talking about confidential funds, the DOJ has $500 million in confidential funds. The DILG has $500 million in confidential funds. Between the two Remulla brothers, there is $1 billion in confidential funds. The Office of the President has $4.5 billion in confidential funds. Why were they not looked into? Why did Congress only look into the $125 million confidential fund of the Vice
Meron din parang confidential fund yung Remulla Brothers.
President?
$625 million.
Well, whatever it may be.
plus
It may be $1 billion, 10 billion, whatever the amount may be. The Constitution mandates equal protection of the laws. Persons similarly situated should be similarly treated. Why was the Vice President singled out? Number two, a lot of the contents of the articles of impeachment are, it's pure rubbish. Like, for instance, she's being impeached because she threw a tantrum when Attorney Lopez was taken into custody. She has to
it wasn't throwing a tantrum. It was threatening the life of the president and his wife and the speaker.
That's one. That's one article. I distinctly saw the one supposedly prepared by De Lima on behalf of certain nuns that said tantrum. Throwing a tantrum. Or she was being held to account for actions done when she was mayor. Those are not impeachable offenses, because when you say impeachable offense, when you say that there are certain impeachable officers, the president, the vice president, the justices of the Supreme Court, the three constitutional bodies, they should be for acts done while they were impeachable officers and not before.
As vice president,
yes,
basically.
as vice president only. So it's really, I remember, and I want to paraphrase one of the descriptive sayings of the late President Abraham Lincoln when there were charges hurled against him. He said that it is that those charges are as thin as the soup made from boiling the shadow of a chicken that has been starved to death. That's how thin some of those accusations are.
What do you say, attorney, to those who actually say this is the time for the vice president to actually answer the allegations hurled against her in the impeachment court?
I believe she has, in fact, answered them in an answer ad cautelam. And that is with the Senate now. The funny thing is, I don't know what game the House is playing. It would appear that they refused to receive these pleadings. Because they
defer the acceptance.
Yeah, they tendered but not accepted. So what is up with that? They wanted her to answer. Now that she's answering, they do not want to receive it. I mean, what the heck is going on?
Oh, sorry. Okay, now I know. You were talking about what was supposedly brought to the House,
Yes.
which supposedly did not have a cover letter, so they weren't really sure what that was all about. But, you know, the question really is right now is that magkakaroon ho ba ng trial o hindi? Ang tanong ko na lang po sa inyo, attorney, do you think there's going to be a trial?
Oh, your guess is as good as mine. I cannot pretend to know the sentiments of the Senate on this matter. They seem to have remanded it, and I believe we should just assume a wait-and-see attitude until after the 20th the House of Representatives of the 20th Congress certifies that they are still interested in pursuing it, notwithstanding that the 19th Congress has become functus officio.
So the questions before the Supreme Court, the petitions rather, whether the 20th Congress can continue what the 19th Congress did. Also, the petition lodged by the defense, the lawyers of Vice President Sara Duterte. Pending there is no decision, would it be better that a trial proceeds, or is it better for the Senate to already answer the question on jurisdiction here?
I believe that since the Senate has already been constituted as an impeachment court, and it has been vested with all the powers pertinent to an impeachment court, including the implied powers to determine whether or not it has jurisdiction, which is a fundamental power of any court, even the lowest court, that when you file a case against even a metropolitan trial court, the first thing that the judge does is determine whether he or she has jurisdiction, because jurisdiction is defined as the power to hear and determine a case. And all proceedings held without jurisdiction are null and void ab initio, meaning from the beginning. So I believe that the impeachment court has the power to dismiss the case outright if there is no jurisdiction due to a fatal defect in the impeachment complaint, which is either the violation of the one-year ban or a serious challenge as to whether or not it survives the passing of the baton to the next Congress.
To the next Congress. But you said implied, di ho ba? You
Yes.
used the word implied. Because if you look at Article 11 of the Constitution, it never questions or says anything about jurisdiction. Actually, it just says that the articles, once transmitted to the Senate shall form the impeachment court, and the Senate shall try and hear and decide all impeachment cases.
Well, it is a bedrock principle, Ms. Webb, that when you grant a body, anybody, even a judicial, a legislative, or even an administrative body, certain powers, all the grant is expressed. It is spelled out for all to see. However, the grant of those powers carries the logical conclusion that all powers that are necessary to implement the granted powers are included in the grant. That is the case of implied power. Okay. And it is, as I've said, a bedrock principle that any court must determine jurisdiction first. Otherwise,